Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys. Hope you're doing well. It feels kind of weird to be sitting down and making one of the sit-down videos because the past few months I've been making a lot of vlogs, like exam season, summer videos, traveling videos, just chilling, working, all of that stuff. So I've been making a lot of vlogs, and I know you guys been loving it anyway. So today I was like, you know what, let me sit down and tell you guys how I got into one of the top medical schools here in the UK. And that's because you guys kept on asking me on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere on how I went from biomedical science at Queen Mary University of London as a graduate to medical school at King's College London. So hopefully in this video I'll be telling you more about my journey, and I'll be giving you actual practical tips and things that helped me during my university career so that it can basically inspire you guys, but more than anything, I hope it actually brings some sort of benefit to you guys so that you guys can also, if you want to go from biomedical science, biochemistry, neuroscience, all of those degrees and get into medical school. So first of all, guys, let's just sit down and let me give you like a quick background story. So when it comes to my personal medical school journey, I think many of you guys probably watched the video that I made when I was, I think 2018, end of year 11. So I opened my GCSE results. This was on my old channel. On my previous channels I used to make a lot of like reaction videos, vlogs, challenges. You guys are probably going to see some of the thumbnails here and there, and yeah, that was my old channel, and I made this GCSE video and it went pretty viral. A lot of people have watched it and they absolutely loved it, and since then the channel of course grew bigger as well. And yeah, that's it really. So I wanted to start all the way from the beginning. So obviously during my GCSEs I was, you know, studying here and there. I was consistent here and there, especially in year 11. I put the effort in, and we were the first year to do the 9-to-1 system. So we basically didn't really have any past papers. We didn't really have, even teachers were very confused in, you know, how to help us exactly, because we didn't have the past papers. We didn't know what would happen. We didn't know the grade boundaries. There wasn't much for us to know because everything was going from the A star to U system to 1 to 9 system, which is now a new system. It's been a couple of years. So it's been 5 years. So since 2018, I can't really believe how long it's been, but it's been a journey. So really what happened is, alhamdulillah, I ended up getting basically pretty much all A stars, 8s and 9s for my GCSEs. I was super happy, and then I went to do my AS levels in biology, chemistry, physics and maths, and then I ended up dropping physics because I didn't really need it, and I ended up doing biology, chemistry and maths for my year 13. So fast forward to end of year 12, I was doing okay and good in my AS levels, so I was happy with it. I think I did very good in biology and chemistry especially, and I ended up doing the UCAT, the BMAT. If I'm being honest, my UCAT wasn't the best. It was pretty average, and that's because I generally just didn't revise much. Like for the UCAT, I was like, oh, you know what? I did good in my GCSEs. I was doing good in my AS levels, and I was like, you know what? I think I can do good in the UCAT, and I just didn't revise much. So I was using Medify mainly and MedEntry and whatnot to do my revision, but I just wasn't putting much effort in. So I got a very average UCAT score, so I decided to do the BMAT, and I actually revised properly for the BMAT, and I did pretty good in my BMAT, and I even had interviews from universities such as UCL for medicine. So I ended up doing my interviews, and then all I really needed was A star AA. So at the end of my A levels, which you guys know, just like our GCSEs were pretty, I don't want to say unfortunate, but we were the first year to do the 9-to-1 system. Our A levels, my year, was the first year where the A levels were cancelled in like 30 years, and you guys know why, because of COVID-19, right? So we were the year where COVID-19 happened in 2020, so we didn't take the exams and we were given predicted grades. Now again, you guys know what happened with the predicted grades. I made a video about it, but I'm saying overall, the whole country just, there were literally protests going on from parents because of how messed up the entire system was. So in the end, we ended up getting teacher predicted grades, and I got A's for my A levels. And to be honest, I had a chance to go to university to study medicine outside of London. So I think it was like University of Lancaster, and I decided not to go outside of London because my parents weren't going to let me. They didn't want me to go outside of London, if I'm being honest. And because I am not taking the student loan, I'm self-funding with my own pocket money, and university is already £9,250, which is a lot of money. And going outside of London would have been at least like another £20,000 in living costs. I would end up having to pay like £30,000 a year, which is a lot of money. And the thing is, Many of you guys probably like, oh, you could have taken like student loans, but me personally, I don't take student loans. I've got my own personal religious views on it, so I didn't want to take student loans. Instead, I wanted to self-fund, which is something I did. Alhamdulillah, I self-funded my university degree at biomedical science at Queen Mary University of London, and I'm also currently self-funding my medical degree at King's College London. I wasn't a fan of going outside of London, so even for medicine, I was like, no, I'd rather do biomedical science or do another degree and then go through the graduate entry program and get into medicine that way. So what happened is that, so yeah, I received my A levels. I got my A's and I had the chance, but I decided to either go into applied medical science at UCL or biomedical science at Queen Mary University of London. I decided to go to biomedical science at Queen Mary University of London instead of going to UCL for applied medical science for a couple of reasons. First of all, the thing about UCL applied medical science is that it was a very new course. It was the first cohort ever. So the cohort was very small. It was the first time they were ever doing this, and imagine going into a degree that you have zero clue about what it is. I've looked at the modules, I didn't understand a single one of them, and looking back at it, I'm very, very happy and glad that I never went to UCL for applied medical sciences, because honestly, the course was like, it was really, really different. It wasn't a lot science-based. It was more practical-based. And as I said, the cohort was small. UCL was further from my house. And I decided to just go to Queen Mary University of London, which is closer to my house. The biomedical science degree at Queen Mary, it's probably the closest thing you'll get to medicine, because even in year 2, they have like PBLs, which is basically problem-based, scenarios, which it's something that you get in medical school as well. If it was genomics, a lot of it was human anatomy, physiology. So these are things that even when you go into medical school, knowing all of that background information is going to help you so much more during the degree when you're studying. And that's why I was just really, really happy with going to Queen Mary. Now, overall, year 1 was completely online. I was literally at home the whole year because it was COVID year, right? And obviously we had a few in-person lab sessions. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of labs, but I was happy that we got to do some practicals, learn more. And it's not always nice to just be doing lectures. Sometimes you just want to do hands-on activities like kinesthetic learning. That's something you want to do, and we had an opportunity to do that in year 1. Then we went to year 2. I'll be honest, year 1 I enjoyed it, like the content. In year 2, year 3, I wasn't really a fan of the content overall. There were some modules that I was okay with, but we were doing a lot of essays. Now, that's something I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of essays. I'm okay with them, but I actually did pretty good in my essays. Basically, I got like first class in every single essay that I've done. And I don't really enjoy them, but I don't hate them. But I like the fact that I actually learned a very useful trick, because I really know how to write essays now. Like, I've done so many essays, and it's just something that's going to help you in the future a lot, right? Especially when you get into medical school. So that's biomedical science overall taught me a lot of things. So in year 2, we also done a lot of, t-tests and all of that statistical analysis, which again, personally, I wasn't a fan of, but I learned so much, which is why I was happy, because it disciplined me more to study something that I didn't really enjoy and get better at it, because this sort of skills is going to help you overall in life. So year 2 was pretty good. So I got very good in my year 1. I think I got like 85% or something average, which is very good. Year 2, I also got like around that. I got like a low first class or something, like a 70%. And then at the end of year 2 is when I actually had to redo the UCAT. Now, first time around, as I said, I did very average in the UCAT because I generally didn't revise. But this time around, I really actually sat down for 6 weeks and I really revised properly. And alhamdulillah, I did very, very good. In my UCAT, I got an average of 700 plus, and I did very good. I was happy with, and I applied to 4 medical schools. I got every single one of my interviews, and I ended up firming King's. I put King's College London as my main university, and then I put Anglia Ruskin Medical School, which is just outside of London, and it's not too far from my house, maybe like a half an hour, 40-minute drive, or on the train it's like half an hour anyway. I put that on my insurance. Now, they both wanted a 2-1, which is basically an upper second class, and I was predicted a first class degree anyway. And yeah, I just met the requirements, and that's how I got into medicine. So that's basically my story on how I went from all the way from GCC to medical school at King's College London. So I just literally graduated like couple of weeks ago. You guys probably saw the graduation vlog. It's probably going to be somewhere down in the description below. So yeah, really, that's my journey. I do want to say something. If you guys need help with GCSE tutoring, A-level tutoring, UCAT tutoring, BMAT tutoring, all of these things, I've been helping over 4,000 plus students in the past few years. You can see all of the different students that we help get 700 plus in the UCAT. We literally help over 100 students get 700 plus in the UCAT, and also do very good in the A-levels and get into medical school from UCL, King's, Oxford, Cambridge, literally everywhere. So you can see all of the results of my students on my Instagram page, Abueducates, and do go on my website, abueducates.com, to purchase the ebooks, which will help you to get into medical school. Now, overall, as I said, this was basically a summary of my journey. And yeah, there's a lot to reflect about. But at the end of the day, if I can do it, any of you guys can do it. You just got to be consistent and you just got to try your best. That's really it. You got to put the effort in. You got to think smart and you got to work hard, of course. But I will be honest, there are a lot of things about biomedical science and its journey and this whole graduate entry program that people don't really understand, which is why in the next few sections of the video, I just want to explain to you guys in depth some of the things that I learned and also some of the tips. Okay guys, so we're back, and this section of the video is going to be a little bit different. So I want to talk about the realities of applying to medical school or dental school after having done a degree, whether that is science related, biomedical science, pharmacology, whatever, or whether that is doing it through another route, such as not doing a science degree beforehand. But regardless, I feel like there is a lot of realities that people don't really know. And even when I was applying through this graduate entry, program, and when I was in my A levels and I was like, okay, I'm going to do biomedical science, whatever, there was a lot of things that I didn't actually understand, and my whole view on how the process would be was completely different than it is now that I've actually gone through the process. So I feel like there is obviously a lot of advantages of doing a degree beforehand and also a lot of disadvantages. So I want to start off with the reality, which is, the disadvantages about this. Now, I remember that when I first started my year one of biomedical science, we had like a little survey, like a poll, and the lecturer basically asked us how many of you guys want to do medicine after. And I think they did like a huge poll. There was literally 600 people, not in our course, but in the entire SBBS, which I think School of Biological and Behavioral Sciences. So basically we had biochemistry students, pharmacology students, neuroscience students, biology students, basically all of this. In year one, we used to share modules a lot. So I think one of the modules that we were doing, they asked us how many of you guys actually want to go into research and how many of you guys actually are using this degree or, the degree that you're doing to get into medical school. And I was actually pretty shocked because I remember seeing that around 60% of people who are literally doing the degrees, like biomedical science, pharmacology, as I said, all of these degrees, they just wanted to do it to get into medical school. Now, again, I was one of those people, but it's a very hard reality because imagine there's like 600 people. I think it was roughly 650 or something in the entire online meeting and stuff like that. I remember seeing, I think about 60% would be maybe a good 300 plus people who want to get into medical school. And of course, I didn't know every single person, but I knew a lot of people. And I feel like from the people I knew, even those who did pretty good in the UCAT and even had 4 interviews, a lot of them didn't get into medical or dental school. And you will be shocked because a lot of people feel like, oh, I can do a degree in biomedical science, or I can do this degree and then I can apply to medical school. But the reality is that there is a lot of disadvantages of going through this route. Now, first of all, understand that when you apply to medical school, you can go through the graduate entry program, which is 4 years on top of, the 3 years that you're doing in your degree, which is basically kind of like the accelerated course, 4 years. And then there is the 5-year course. Now, not all universities offer the 4-year course. The 4-year course, the benefits of it is, of course, is faster. And the benefit is that you will be able to take student loans, and it's basically a postgraduate degree. So if you haven't taken your student loans in your first 3 years of whatever degree you're doing, you're still eligible to take it for your second degree, such as myself. I'm eligible to take it, but I'm not going to take it. I'm going to self-fund. But a lot of people end up taking student loans anywhere. Even I've seen people who are rich who still take student loan. So what happens is that because they take student loan for the first time round, in the second degree, they can't take student loans. And, a lot of people, it's very hard to pay £9,250 throughout the years. So if you do the 4-year course, you will get the student loan again. But if you do the 5-year course, which is the undergraduate, you're now doing 2 undergraduates, you're not going to be able to take student finance loans because they're not going to let you take student finance loans for 2 undergraduate degrees. Does that make sense? So those are the advantages of going through the 4-year route. But the disadvantages is that it's so much tougher, like so much. Your UCAT needs to be like an average 750 for you to have a good chance. And the interviews are so tough and so many people apply to it that it's just ridiculous. Way more competitive. And also the 4 years of medical school are harder because you're basically doing 5 years content in 4 years. So if I'm being honest, out of all of those people that I remember seeing that said they wanted to do medicine, and from my friends group, barely anybody got into medicine. I think from my friends group, like 2 people got into medicine. Even those who had interviews, they just didn't pass them. And that's because when people apply to an undergraduate degree, undergraduate medicine, a lot of universities, they still have a select few spaces for graduate entry in undergraduate, if that makes sense. So let's say they've got 100 spaces. Even then, like 80 of these spaces will be for home students. And then let's say 20 of them will be for international students. So let's say you're a home student. Now out of these 80, maybe about 15 of these spaces are for people who already have a degree, i.e. me and you, or whoever's basically applying this way. So that means basically most of the spaces are only going to be given to students who are in year 12 doing the UCAT going into year 13, if that makes sense. So these year 13 students are going to get most of the spaces in undergraduate. So even if you apply to undergraduate medicine, it's still harder than if you were a year 13 student. I hope all of that makes sense. If you guys do have any questions, do message me on my LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. I'll try to reply. There's a lot of replies, a lot of messages, but that's why I'm making this video. But hopefully I was clear, or in the comment section, some of you guys can help each other out. But I'm just literally giving you this because when I went to biomedical science and I decided to apply to medicine, again, I didn't know these statistics, and most students don't know it. Like, I've helped over 4,000 students, and there's so many students who think, oh, it's fine, I'll just go through the biomedical science route, which is actually so much harder, and at least in my personal opinion, and even based on statistics, guys, like the reality, it's very, very hard. Like, I knew people who, they wanted to get into medicine, and the moment they even got into biomedical science, they were like, 3 years and then another 5 years. So there is a huge number of people who drop out, and some of these people are not even included in the statistics. So when you check the statistics and you're like, oh, 1 in 7 people gain, 1 in 10 people gain, sometimes it's even lower than that, because there are people who would book their UCAT and not even do the UCAT. So those are people who wanted to do medicine, who should technically be in the statistics, but in the end, they never ended up doing medicine. So basically, guys, what I'm saying to you is the reality of doing a degree like biomedical science and getting into medicine is very, very tough. And you're probably wondering, okay, what can I do? Now, gap year is another option. Personally, I would never take a gap year. And that's because I feel like the things you can do in a gap year, like, I don't know, get your driving license, work, make money, these are things that I can do while doing a degree, if that makes sense. So instead, I didn't want to take the risk of redoing the UCA, applying and all of that, and then, not getting in, and then having to take like a second gap year, or then having to do a degree in biomedical science. So I was like, you know what, let me be smart and let me literally just apply to medical school after doing a degree, so at least I have a degree as a backup. So that is the tip I would give you. But again, some people do a gap year and it works completely fine with them, and that's fine. I've had a lot of students and even friends who took a gap year and things worked out. But with me personally, I didn't want to take a gap year, so I went through the biomedical science route. But I just wanted to let you guys know that it's not easy, and there is so many people who done their UCAT, they didn't do good, or some who did good who didn't get the interviews or pass and get the offers, who are now having to do maybe a master's and reapply, or take another gap year on top of the 3 years of biomedical science that they've done. And it's very stressing. People forget that it takes a big mental toll on you, because a lot of people really want to get into medical and dental school. So this is the reality that I genuinely wanted to share with you guys. Now again, when it comes to the benefits, I will be honest, guys, like, doing a 3-year biomedical science degree, you learn so much more, like the discipline that you learn from it and all of the things that you learn from, as a human being, the experiences you get in life. And also when it comes to a medical perspective, the content, it's basically at the back of your head. You know how to write essays, you know everything about university. Like I'm going to King's College London, but I already know what modules I'm going to be doing. Okay, this stuff I basically already studied it. So when it comes to medical school in general is easier. Now there are statistics that actually show that the best doctors are those who are, those who've done a degree beforehand. And that's because I feel like you're just way more mature when you're 21 years old going into medical school, such as myself. You're more mature than the 18-year-old me who was meant to go to medical school, because the way you think, the way you behave is just different. And even when it comes to things like OSCEs and stuff like that, when it comes to speaking to patients, all of these things, you're just more mature. So that's probably the big benefit. But of course, you do spend more time and you spend more money. So at the end of the day, it's more like, you got to look at it. What are your options? What do you have that's available? And what's the best option for you? Because there isn't any general advice when it comes to this, because some people, for them, the gap year is best. Some people, they want to do a master's, maybe do biomedical science and then a master's or neuroscience. Some people want to go this route. Some people want to do a foundation year in medicine. Some people want to do, take maybe 2-3 gap years. And everybody's different. So just sit down properly and plan everything and just write down the advantages and disadvantages and say to yourself what is best for you. And as I said, guys, out of like all of the people that I remember seeing, all these 300 people from my course and from the courses at my uni who wanted to get into medical school, maybe like 10, 15, 20 max of those got into medical school. And out of those, most of them were undergraduate, and postgraduate were just very, very few. And not any that I know of, but I've seen some who got into postgraduate from those 300 I'm talking about, roughly. So you can imagine how competitive it is, like even undergraduate medicine as a graduate. So my best advice is, guys, take it seriously. And if you are in year 13, just work hard, put that effort in, and hopefully everything will go to plan. Now for the last part of the video, I just want to give you guys some genuine tips, because I feel like these tips actually help me in my application process. Now tip number 1 is that every single stat counts. So if you're that student doing GCSEs and you want to get into medical school or dental school in the future, just know that extra GCSE, that extra hour that you're putting in, that extra A-level, if you can handle it, that extra personal statement being 1% better, that extra work experience, that extra UCAT score, that extra BMAT score, all of that in the end somehow adds up, and it's going to help you so much with your application. So try to take every single one of the stages in your application and try to actually put a good amount of effort for each one of them, because the more stats in general, of course it depends what universities you apply to, but it's going to help you so much. Now tip number 2 is apply strategically. Now of course I know some people will find it harder. For example, me, I wasn't going outside of London. Some people don't want to go outside of London. Some people don't want to go outside of their city to come to London. And of course some people have to do graduate entry medicine. Some people have to go specifically to a certain university. So of course the doors are not always going to be open for you guys, but try your absolute best to open as many doors as possible and apply as strategically as possible, so that you're more likely to get an interview, you're more likely to pass the interview. So look at all of these statistics, and again, you can find basically admission statistics for basically every year for whatever university you're applying to, medicine, dentistry, whatever. So it's going to be helping you a lot. So definitely do that. Tip number 3 is, of course, you got to work hard, you got to work smart as well, and you got to be disciplined, motivated to a certain degree. Of course, motivation doesn't always help you as much as discipline, because you're not going to be motivated every day to wake up and do that extra 1 or 2 UCAT mocks, for example. But discipline is going to help you a lot, and in the long term, just know in the end all of it will pay off. So keep that in your mind and keep on grinding. Now tip number 4 is to find somebody who can advise you, who's gone through the entire journey just like you. So that could be a tutor, and of course most of the times you probably have to pay and stuff like that. But if you can't find somebody who can help you in general, whether that is paid or not, it's something that's really going to help you, because people who've gone through the same journey as you, who went to medical school, who went to dental school, or who did biomedical science and neuroscience and other degrees and going to medical school, they're obviously going to know certain things that you don't know. They've been through things that you haven't been through. So if you can find somebody like that, definitely look for them. more than anything, and they will be able to help you out. And that's exactly when I come in. Abueducates.com. Do check out our website. I already mentioned it before, but if you guys do need anything, do ask us. And I've actually got a brand new ebook which is called Biomedical Science to Medicine. So biomedicine to medicine, I'll be telling you exactly in this ebook every single thing that I did from biomedical science to medicine, step by step, from, you know, the finances behind there, from the things you didn't know about biomedical science, from how to tackle every single issue. Literally, this ebook has basically 3 years of all of my notes and all of the things that I gathered while I was doing this degree, and you guys can get it on my website, link down there in the description below. And for the last and final tip, which is tip number 5, I mean, I can go all day long, give you as many tips and advices because I know this journey isn't easy, but just to make it simple for you guys, I'm going to keep it to 5. And this 5th one is that look for other alternative degrees or alternative options. Now, this is a tip that I personally don't like to give because I feel like it's basically kind of saying to you, oh, give up on medicine or dentistry or whatever degree you want to get into. But I feel like sometimes you got to be very careful and you got to be very smart with the things that you do. For example, medical school is not easy. Like, some statistics show that 1 in 10 people get in the UK. Some statistics show that it's even less than that, certain universities. So I'm not saying medicine isn't for you. I'm saying medicine can be for anybody. You have to put the effort in. But if you have applied and applied and applied and you never got in, and you decide to give up, or you decide that, you know what, I want to go through a different path, then try to think about that earlier, because you could have saved so much more time. So for example, I had a backup plan. What if I didn't get into medical school? Okay, maybe I'm going to do a master's. Okay, maybe I'm actually going to reapply to medical school, and meanwhile I'm going to be working on my work experience. I'm going to be working on my business. I'm going to be doing this and that. Remember, life is going to move on, and this is just a tip I'm giving you guys personally because I've been through these 3 years of biomedical science, and I've seen so many people, like so many people from my friends who applied, who even got better UCAT scores than me, 700 plus, and they failed all of the interviews. And some of them, they worked so hard and they didn't even do good enough in the UCAT to get the interviews. So just remember that at the end of the day, this is a journey. Everybody's on their different journey, and all you got to do is put that effort in and also have a backup plan, because with everything in life you need to have a backup plan. So think, is this degree for me? Of course, okay, if it is, I'm going to apply for it. But what if I don't get in? What's the second plan that I'm going to do? So these are things that you should keep in mind. And I feel like this is probably one of the most important tips, especially if you're going into graduate entry medicine from having done a previous degree. So yeah, guys, those are basically all of the tips that I had. It's currently night time. I need to go sleep. I'm super tired. I haven't even eaten dinner. I was literally tutoring like almost 12 hours today. Yes. So again, if you guys do need anything, check out my socials, links down there in the description below. This is probably my 5th time saying or something. That's my company at Abueducates. If you need any of the ebooks, any one-to-one advice, any productivity coaching, even for videography, photography, that's something else that I do as well. If you need me for any of this, do feel free to message me on my Instagrams, my socials, my email. But other than that, guys, I'm gonna go eat, get a good night's sleep. This was a slightly different type of video than the ones that I do usually, but I honestly feel like it's just a part of my journey, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And as long as it benefits at least one person, that's all that matters to me. But other than that, guys, yeah, that's it. That's the end of the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all of that stuff. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.